So alright, the long-awaited and most highly anticipated event, UFC 300, finally takes place this weekend, and I'm going to be going through the entire card, starting with the early prelim opener, ending with the main event, giving you guys my full breakdown and predictions, and wow, looking at the card right now, and let's just take a moment and appreciate how amazing this whole card is. Give it a moment. All right, enough of all that. Let's waste no further time and break down UFC 300. Starting the whole card off with the opener of the early prelims, Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Gardbrandt. Damn, it sucks because I met the guy, but it can't be the sole reason why I'll pick him. I'm going to be going with Deiveson Figueiredo to get the win via TKO. I'm going to be totally honest here. I don't like this fight stylistically at all for Cody. I think this is going to be a stylistic nightmare for him. Deiveson Figueiredo is coming off in a very impressive win on his last fight out against Rob Font, which was his official bantamweight debut. Yes, Cody Garbrandt is on a 2-fight winning streak, but I don't really highly rate those 2 wins at all. I think Deiveson Figueiredo has the power and skill set to land something big on the chin of Cody Garbrandt and finding the finish in the second round. I'll be rooting for Cody to get the win, but Deiveson Figueiredo is the pick and gets it done via second round TKO. Moving on to the next fight on the card. Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Some interesting stats here. Both guys have a combined record of 101 pro fights. Also, Jim Miller has fought on UFC 100, UFC 200, and now historically UFC 300. But I'm getting a bit sidetracked here. It's going to be a bit of a risky pick, but I am going to be going with Bobby King Green to get the win. Yes, he got brutally knocked out in his last fight, but undoubtedly has fought the better competition out of the 2. Yes, Jim Miller is on a roll, but let's face it, he's kind of beaten young cans. I believe Green has the style and skill set to stuff the takedowns of Jim Miller, outbox him, and win in a hard-fought 3-round war. So, the pick is Bobby King Green, and I think he gets it done via close decision, 29-28. Moving on to the next fight on the card, Jèssica Andrade versus Moreno Rodriguez. Gonna make this one real quick. Confident pick on this one. I am gonna be going with the underdog value of Moreno Rodriguez to get the win via TKO. Now, Andrade is the younger fighter out of the 2, but has a lot of wear and tear, has been in a lot of wars, and to be honest, didn't look all too impressive in her last fight out. Andrade always crumbles whenever she faces off against a technical, tall, powerful striker, and Moreno is just that. I can honestly see Moreno Rodriguez lighting Andrade up on the feet and secures herself a second round TKO. We move on to the next fight on the card. Jalin Turner versus Renato Moicano. Going with another underdog here, another risky pick. I am going to be going with Renato Moicano to get the win via sub. Now, this is a very interesting stylistic matchup we got here. Striker versus grappler, and I do think it's going to be a scary fight for Moicano, but I think he gets it done. Despite Turner being a very dangerous and solid striker on the feet, has pretty suspect cardio and overall pretty mid-grappling offense and defense. He got out-grappled by Mateusz Gamrot and Dan Hooker, and I can honestly see Moicano doing the same as long as he can get past the tricky striking. I can honestly see him landing takedowns and latching himself a submission in the later rounds. So, Money Moicano is the pick and gets it done via second round submission. Moving on to the opener of the prelim card, Sodiq Yusuff versus Diego Lopes. You know what? I've been on the hype train since his UFC debut, and I am a firm believer in Diego Lopes, and that's who I'm going to pick in this fight. Sodiq Yusuff has been a bit disappointing in his recent career, really disappointed me in his last fight out against Edson Barboza, and that kind of best describes his career. A bit disappointing and underwhelming. Lopes, on the other hand, has been on a roll since his debut, 2-1 in the UFC, and I repeat myself, took Movsar Evloev to a hard-fought decision on his debut on 12 days short notice. Yeah, that seals the deal for me. I am going to be going with Diego Lopes, getting it done via first round submission. We move on to the next fight on the card. Holm versus Kayla Harrison. Gonna make this one real quick. I'm gonna be going with Kayla Harrison to get the win. Quite frankly, I don't like the pick at all. I think Kayla Harrison is very overrated. I don't rate her striking at all. It's very awful to watch. But I do think she gets it done over in old Holm. Holm is currently 42 years old right now and hasn't been looking all too good in her recent career. I honestly see Harrison getting the takedowns and asserting her dominance on Holm over the duration of 3 rounds. So, Kayla Harrison is the pick and gets it done via dominant decision, 29-28, maybe even a 30-27. Moving on to the next fight on the card. Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. You know, I see a lot of people underestimating Kattar's chances in this fight, but that's who I'm actually going to be going for. I am going to be going with the slight underdog value of Kattar to get the win and finally making a bounce back. To be brutally honest, I wasn't a big fan of the idea of Sterling moving up in weight. To me, it looks like a big bantamweight taking on a natural featherweight, and for me, I just see this as a recipe of disasters for Sterling. I also like this fight stylistically for Kattar. Kattar has wicked and underrated takedown defense, and I can honestly see Kattar stuffing the takedowns and keeping this fight on the feet where he does his best work. I can also see Kattar catching Aljo the same way O'Malley did by moving off the back foot and catching him with a heavy counter. So, Kattar is the pick, and I think he gets it done via second round TKO. Moving on to the prelim headliner, Jiří Procházka versus Aleksandar Rakić. Pretty tricky and tough fight to call here. I could see this as a coin flip of a fight. Could see either guy winning this, but I am going to be leaning towards, ever so slightly, the Bushido Warrior. I am going to be going with the slight underdog value of Jiří Procházka to get it done via brutal finish. Now, I'm not doubting Rakic's chances whatsoever. In my opinion, he has got to be one of the best technical strikers in the light heavyweight division and has a very underrated skill set. However, one of the main reasons why I'm actually picking against Rakić is his inactivity. Last fight out, didn't fight till May 14th of 2022. That is about 2 years of inactivity. And yes, it was due to injury, but that is a very long layoff. Jiří, on the other hand, is undoubtedly the fresher fighter. Last fight out was in December, coming right back in and facing off against Rakić. I think ring rust is going to be a very big factor in this fight, and I also think Jiří is going to make this fight very ugly. I think Jiří is going to right some of the wrongs from his previous fight and finish Rakić in the later rounds. So, Jiří Procházka is the pick and gets it done via third round KO. Moving on to the opener of the main card, Nickal versus Cody Brundage. No-brainer pick here, probably my one and only confident lock of the card. I'm going to be going with Nickal to absolutely run through and destroy Brundage in the first. I mean, not much to say here. As of right now, currently, Nickal is a -25 favorite over Brundage and is also an 18-1 favorite over Brundage. Again, not much to say here. This just feels like a sacrificial lamb, and I can honestly see Nickal beating Brundage wherever the fight goes. So, Nickal is a confident pick of the night, and I think he gets it done via first round submission. We move on to the next fight on the main card. Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Damn, man. For me, it's this fight and the main event I'm really going to be nervous for. But as I say all this, I honestly do believe Oliveira has a solid shot of beating Arman. And you know what? That's what I'm going to be going for. I am going to be going with the underdog value of Charles do Bronx Oliveira to get the win via second round finish. Now let me explain. Arman Tsarukyan is a young, dangerous prospect that is currently riding a nice win streak. But despite all that, has a little bit of wrinkles of holes in his game, and against a experienced guy like Oliveira, I could honestly see Oliveira exposing those holes and finding a finish. For example, Tsarukyan's striking is unpredictable but very rudimentary offensively and defensively, and despite his wrestling being a big threat to Oliveira, his grappling hasn't improved his last couple of fights, which makes Oliveira very dangerous in this matchup. We've been getting the tale of these lightweight vets taking out these young prospects, and I can see the story continuing in this fight. So, Charles do Bronx Oliveira, my guy, gets it done via second round TKO. Moving on to the feature fight of the main card, Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. For anyone that doesn't know, this fight is for the BMF title, and I remember when this fight first got announced, I thought it was over for Max. I thought we were going to see Gaethje put an absolute beating on him. I thought we were going to see Tony Ferguson 2.0. But after doing a bit of research and giving it some thought, call me crazy, but I honestly like Holloway's chances against Gaethje in this matchup. And you know what? It's UFC 300. I say fuck the noise. I am going to be going with the underdog side of Max Blessed Holloway to get the win via TKO. Now, I don't mind this fight stylistically at all for Holloway. I don't think the low kicks of Gaethje are going to do any damage at all, since Holloway is very light on his lead leg nowadays. Now, some people are thinking, RNC, what are you talking about? Gaethje is going to look massive next to Holloway. I don't think so. I believe and I see Holloway has filmed to the lightweight frame quite nicely this time around. He looks way bigger than he did in featherweight. And one of the main reasons why I'm actually picking Max in this fight is, if it makes any sense, I honestly believe and see Max beating Gaethje by late rounds TKO or decision than I see Gaethje KOing Max. I think Max Holloway is going to be much faster. I think he's going to have a better shot selection, high output, endless cardio. I just think those are going to be his keys to victory in this fight. So, the pick is Max Blessed Holloway, and I think he gets it done either via 4th or 5th rounds TKO or dominant decision 48-47. Moving on to the co-main event, the challenger Yan Xiaonan taking on the reigning, defending champion Zhang Weili. Guys, I am very excited for this fight. In my opinion, it should have been Alexa Grasso versus Zhang Weili for this card, but I can understand this fight. It's better and it makes more sense for the division. And I am going to be going with Zhang Weili to get the win and retain her title. I'm not doubting Yan Xiaonan's chances whatsoever. In terms of striking, it seems to be pretty evenly matched. I do give the power advantage to Xiaonan because she hits like a truck, and in my opinion, Weili Zhang cannot cost trading on the feet with Xiaonan with the power. I do think if this fight gets a little fiery for Zhang, I do think she's going to have no problem taking Yan Xiaonan down, and that's kind of the sole basis of my pick in this fight. I do think Zhang Weili is an overall more well-rounded, better mixed martial artist than Xiaonan, and I do think she beats her in duration of 5 rounds. Zhang Weili is currently on a roll, riding a 3-fight win streak, most of them by stoppage, while the recent by decision. And as much as I would like to see a finish from Zhang, I do see this fight going the distance. So, the pick for UFC 300's co-main event is Zhang Weili, and I think she either gets it done via late rounds submission or dominant decision, 48-47, possibly even a 49-46. We move on to the main event. The challenger, Sweet Dreams Jamal Hill, taking on the reigning, defending champion, Aleksandar Pereira. Guys, what can I say that hasn't been said? Amazing main event, amazing fight, and a close one at that. I honestly believe the winner of this matchup will be decided on who could find the opening first and get the KO. And with that, I am going to be going with Alex Pereira to get the win via KO and maintain his title. Now, I'm not doubting Hill's chances at all because he's very good in his own respect, but I honestly see the counters of Pereira in this fight. Now let me explain. I think this fight is going to be a very interesting stylistic matchup. When Hill gets in his southpaw stand, he won't be dealing with the leg kicks as much from Pereira, but he tends to leave his right hand down by his waist, and a left hook counter from Pereira is wide open. However, when Hill switches his stance to orthodox, he will be dealing with the leg kicks of Pereira, but Pereira will be dealing with a very fast and powerful 1-2 from Hill, as well as a sneaky head kick. It is a very interesting stylistic matchup, but one of the main reasons why I'm actually picking Pereira is timing. I honestly believe this is a premature comeback for Hill, and you're telling me, after getting an Achilles tear, in which he got surgery for that, you're coming back and you're taking on one of the best and prolific leg kickers in UFC history? I think Pereira gets him, man. I think he softens up the calves and legs of Hill and secures himself a KO in the second or third round. So, the pick for UFC 300's main event is Aleksandar Pereira. All in all, killed it on last weekend's card. Got a few picks wrong, but I predicted 2 out of my 3 locks correctly, and more importantly, I predicted the main event right. Overall, I went a total record of 7-5. Gonna be aiming to go flawlessly as much as I can on this weekend's card. Thank you guys for watching today's video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on my socials, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!